Welcome back. This lesson is about the TOEIC listening test. Now, before I discuss the parts or sections of the listening test, let's review first what the TOEIC exam is. The acronym TOEIC stands for Test of English for International Communication. It is considered the test for the workplace because the assessments are oriented towards professional or business communications. It is also considered by employers worldwide as a fair and valid assessment of English language listening, reading, writing, and speaking skills for the workplace. The TOEIC listening and reading test uses an optically scanned answer sheet. This answer sheet is provided during the exam. For the listening and reading test, there are 200 questions to answer in 2 hours. Approximately 45 minutes for 100 questions is rendered for listening, while the remaining 75 minutes is for the reading part with also 100 questions. In the listening section, the examinee is expected to listen to conversations and narrations and answer the questions that follow. Below are the 4 parts of the listening test. In part 1, there are 6 to 10 photographs. 4 short statements regarding each photograph will be spoken only one time. The statements will not be printed on the test booklet. Of these 4 statements, the examinee has to select the one that best describes the photograph and mark the letter answer using a pencil on the answer sheet. Part 2 is question-response section. After hearing a question or statement, 3 responses will be spoken only one time. These statements or responses will not be printed on the test booklet. The examinee has to select the best response for the question and mark the letter answer on the answer sheet using a pencil. In Part 3, conversations between 2 or 3 people will be spoken only one time. These conversations will not be printed on the test booklet. You as the examinee must listen to each conversation and the questions that will follow, which are printed in the test book. These questions will also be spoken. Afterwards, you must select the best response for each question and mark your answer on the answer sheet. Some questions may require responses related to information found in diagrams, tables, and the like, which will be printed on the test book as well. There are 3 questions for each conversation. Part 4 is the last part of the listening test. Here, you need to carefully listen to short talks such as announcements or narrations, which will be spoken only one time. They will also not be printed on the test booklet. Listen to each talk and the questions printed in the test book that will also be spoken. Likewise, select the best response for the question and mark your answer on the answer sheet. There are also 3 questions for each talk. Now that you are familiar with the parts of the test, here are some tips that can help you comfortably answer the exam. Always remember that listening is a process and a skill. As a skill, you need to hone it. Familiarize yourself with the exam that you will encounter. I recommend that before you answer the graded listening tasks in the course, do tip number 1, which is to practice. There are many free sample tests online with answers as well. Discover these sites and practice a lot. Second, the IELTS listening test is different from this one. There will be no extra time after the test for you to transfer answers from the booklet to the answer sheet. So during the test, you need to pay real attention and mark the letter of your answer right away. Third, properly shade the circles as the answer sheet will be optically scanned by a machine. You wouldn't want to lose points, so properly do the shading, but do not stress yourself out because of it. Pay attention to the real task at hand, which is listening. Fourth, if possible, sit near the speaker, but regardless of your position, you need to be fifth, physically and mentally ready for the test. This listening test is longer than the IELTS test. Sitting down to listen for 45 minutes can be daunting for some, so practice attentive and calm listening to feel at ease during the entire test. During the test, listening carefully to instructions and descriptions can also help you anticipate what's coming, so listen intently. However, there are also parts of the listening test which may be deemed boring, like parts 1 and 2. In my experience, some students get bored while listening to the recordings for these parts since some answer options sound really silly. For example, the photograph is obviously a man riding a horse, but in the exam, you would hear silly sounding options like the man is reading a newspaper. In part 2, you might also hear silly options or answers like yes I do to a questions like did it rain yesterday? Now, bear in mind that these instances can make you lose focus, so remain active while listening to every part of the test. Other than the ones mentioned here, the tips from the previous lecture also apply. This is the end of the lecture, and I hope that you will be able to confidently take the exam in the future because of tips I have provided here. Good luck, and thanks again for your time.